Wonderful. Now that we've heard that, let's back up just a bit and let's see what we remember. And perhaps, you can use cheats. You can go back to your Sunday school classes of yesteryear. Who remembers what was created on the first day? The heavens and the earth. Day one, we got stuff, and we got light. What did we get on day two? Do you remember?
Firmament,
separating what? Waters. So we had, for lack of better terms, upper waters and lower waters, and firmament in the middle.
water canopy around the earth.
Day three, what do we have?
Vegetation. Plants.
We have ground and we have plants. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I bring this back to you because we're going to show again how God is a God of order. Okay? It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen happenstancely. There is a method to his madness. Okay? Here we are. We're in day... we actually did day 4 last time. And here's the catch. Day 4, what does God give us? The sun and the moon and the stars. And just out of curiosity, where are the sun and the moon and the stars located? In the heavens. When was the heavens created? Day 1. So day 1, there's the stuff out there, it's created, so that day 4, the little intricateness for the stuff out there happens. You get that? Makes kind of space. And then day 4, he makes stuff to go in that space. Day 2, we had waters above and below. And here we are, we find ourselves now on day 5. And what do we see happening? We get birds and water creatures. Isn't that kind of neat? It almost seems like God has a plan even in creation. You wanted to.
But you have to have the earth and the stars, to have the seasons, to have the time, to have the vegetation, to feed the animals. So I had to come in that order.
So it really seems like God knows what he's doing.
Of course he does.
It really seems like God knows what he's doing. Now, let's be honest. Aren't there times that we wonder if God really knows what he's doing? Because his ways seem a little strange, a little difficult, not like we thought it should have happened. Well, it's a good thing it doesn't happen the way I think it should happen. Because I usually make a good big mess. But God had a specific plan and an order, and it's all coming together just marvelously. What stands out to you in verses 20 through 23?
God created those sea monsters, whales, whatever. And according to evolution, they came last. Those the little gizmos and evolved into something bigger and bigger and bigger. But here, God made them first. There goes evolution down the tube.
I like the premise. I like the final conclusion. So, okay, I'll accept that. What else do we see here?
The birds fly at the same time. They couldn't have evolved. The birds going every which way, you know?
I can just imagine the craziness that was in the skies at that time. What did you say, Gene?
The
He told them to multiply in the earth. Why would God do that?
He wasn't going to make any more of them. They can make themselves now.
He wasn't going to make any more of them. They could make themselves now. You know, it's comical the way it was said initially, but you know, there's a whole lot to that. Think about it. Think about it. They are capable. There's a nature. There's even a purpose to them. Create, multiply, fill the skies, fill the seas. Interesting. Anything else there? There is something there that I really want us to get because it's kind of, I think it's interesting. But
it was preparation for what was to come next. They had to have the multiplication and everything to sustain what was going to come after.
I think that's pretty important because, you know, let's think about it. How much do crows eat? How much do, now let's get better than that. How much do turkeys eat? As much as they want. But when you compare to turkey eating compared to me sitting down to Thanksgiving dinner.
Aren't you glad he had something to eat?
Wait till this year, you'd be eating cornbread. Cornbread dressing.
What else do we see here? Devon.
It looks like, I mean, where it says, at least in my version, it says that God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply. So the first time that God had blessed them, I don't know what the third thing. Wow. Before that, he said it was good.
What a neat little transition. Before God has just proclaimed, he's given a statement, it is good. And all of a sudden, he blesses. You know what I find so interesting about that? The first thing that God blesses isn't man. Hadn't made him yet. But he's already blessing the birds. Now, living creature, the birds and the fish. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. And this one is not really rhetorical. I would like you to answer, but you don't have to answer out loud. When you ask for God to bless you, because I'm going to go out on a limb, and probably at some point in your life, you said, Lord, bless me, or bless my family, or bless our preacher, I don't know, whoever. What were you looking for? What in your mind was the blessing? You don't necessarily have to answer. That's fine, though. And here's where I'm going with that. God blessed the fish and the birds. Perhaps he has a different idea of blessing than we've come to get. And perhaps we need to move a little bit closer to what his definition was. Questions, concerns, comments through 23. Yes, John.
Where are you going with that? In other words, like, where is the blessing closer to the way we're looking at it?
Where am I going with that? I'm glad you asked. We may get there in the next few verses because it repeats itself.
Was it, I'm just going to ask, was it saying blessing the birds and the whatever, to give them permission to multiply? That would be his blessing, that he
I'm going to let you deal with that until we get through the next day of creation. So I'm going to just let that hang there, and hopefully you fill with anticipation where you can't handle it anymore and you're jumping out of your seats.
And it stood out to me that he said after their kind, every week now. In other words, they stayed together.
After their kind. So crows were with crows, and they multiplied to produce more crows. And we have goldfish that met goldfish, and they made more goldfish. Interesting. Yes, Howard. Bless you.
Back to the impossibility of evolution. There were male and female created at the same time. If it were by evolution, these two creatures that evolved into male and female would have to have been at the same rate, at the same time, and meet at the same place. And the impossibility of that is far greater than God creating them.
I don't care how you slice that piece of bread up, it comes out in God. Volunteer to move on. Volunteer for 24 through, oh my, this one's a long one, isn't it? 24 through 31. Go right ahead, Forrest.
And God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind. And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish of the sea, and the birds of the sky, over the livestock, and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea, and the birds of the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day.
Oh, wow, that's a nice, lengthy little piece. What jumps out at you here? God provided resources? Okay, Carol?
God provided man and dominion over the animals.
God provided man dominion over the animals. Help me with that. He did it. I agree. He did that. What does that mean? I'm going to ask a question, and I'm a little nervous asking it. Because there's one in every crowd. And if I count, I get a lot more than one in this crowd. What is dominion? I thought someone was going to say something about the power company. John.
Dominance, control, responsibility.
Billy, I saw your hand.
Absolute authority and control.
Anyone else? Dominion. Control of everything. God gave man, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion over, and then he names everything he's created.
Limited power.
Except limited power.
Well, I mean, he's given man limited power over the animals, but not over everything in existence.
What does subdue mean? Because there's an and if they meant the same thing, God wouldn't have had to say both, right? What's subdue? Put under your thumb. Under your control. That's coming awfully close to what we said dominion was, isn't it? Master.
I was thinking of dominion as dominion could be more of a caring, not a controlling thing, but more of a caring for that those things, so that not looking after them.
A husband type. Is that what I heard you say, Nancy? Well, I liked what you said. I was going to just ask you to say it a little louder. What was God telling Adam to do? Take care of it. I think y'all deserve a gold star for that. Sorry. We'll clap. Might not get the gold star reference. That subdue and dominion, have dominion over, does not necessarily mean we get to do whatever we want, however we want. He's talking in kind of stewardship ideas. That while he is giving humankind the authority to carry out stuff, he's still in charge. He's still big boss man, and we're kind of middle management. We're expected to care for and still kind of domesticate our world. It's not just use, give. Or actually not give. It would be use, take. There's supposed to be more to it than that. Not because, now I'm transitioning into 2015. Not because we're concerned about carbon emissions. Not because we're worried about some pink salamander somewhere. Really worried about them. Not because we see Mother Earth as the end-all, be-all authority, as a Wiccan might, but because God is the creator. He created it. He created you, and you were second in line for blessing. And if he has blessed something before you, perhaps we need to pay attention. Perhaps there's something special. I mean, after all, if God says, and I blessed it, would any of us belittle that or ridicule it? Or think we're over and beyond? We should take that careful humility. See, we're all intertwined. What else do we have here that jumps out at you? Mary.
I want to go into that subdue a little bit. Subdue implies that somebody's out of control, or something is out of control. It needs to be brought back into line. And what do you see that as being?
Well, let's talk about that.
Is it really in here, subdue? Or is that something you just
Well, 28, verse 28 is it's there. So what think you? A friend has just called you up. They are attempting to weigh the facts of the Bible. And they ring your phone number. And they say, I read this subdue thing in Scripture. And my understanding of subdue is something's out of line and I'm pulling it back into line and I'm taking control of it. Help me with that. Is that what God's saying? Your phone is rung. You've picked up the phone and you say, pull the weeds. Okay. There is a wonderful practical application. What else? Who?
God created animals for man to eat, so he would do it in that way of cutting down population.
Yummy. Okay.
You gotta preserve what God made, and He put you to rule over it. And it's your responsibility, to rule over it, but you also gotta protect it. You got the authority to do something.
Anyone here have a garden?
I got a tomato plant.
Tiny one. You gardeners, how much do you enjoy watching deer walk through your backyard? Why? Because they eat your stuff. So what do? What do you fence it off? Why do you fence it off? To keep the deer out. Why? Because they're out of control. They're going to eat all my beans, which wouldn't bother me if I get... Never mind. We're not going to go there. What about... I don't know. Anyone ever been to a chicken farm? Why are they always kept in those little houses? Not always. They'll run away. What else could happen? Critters could come and eat them. How do we separate the fox from the chickens if we're just all out there together?
And turkeys are so dumb that if you don't put a roof over them, they'll drown in rain.
I'll be honest. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know.
They've been alive before houses was.
Has anyone ever brought home a little puppy? What happens with little puppies? They make messes. They chew stuff up. They like to bite at your ankles. What do you do with them?
Love them.
You love them and you train them, or you get rid of them. It's anywhere in there. Why? If you bring it home, you have to keep it. And what do you do with it then? You love it and you teach it, you train it that you don't do that here. You do this there. And we all do it. Doesn't matter how big we get, doesn't matter how old we get. That little puppy goes outside and he takes care of what he needs to take care of. Good boy, it's a good boy. Why? We try to bring order. God has called us to bring order to the world around us. And I think this is one of the brightest, most clearest verses that tells us that. We are to have an orderly world. Why? Because, no matter how dumb turkeys are, the world would be a sadder place without them. Especially that third week in November. No matter how odd or strange a cow looks, the world is a better place with them. And lamb, and insert your favorite animals here. Even deer. What else do we have jumping out at us in this portion of Genesis? 26. Let us make man in our image. But God is God. And God is one. What are we talking about, folks? The Trinity. How many times now have we seen the Trinity show up in the first, 26 verses of Genesis? And the world was void and still, but the Spirit of God hovered over the waters. Interesting. All the way back there we got that. And then we start saying, and we're going to hang stars in the sky, so it'll be a sign to them. That sounds vaguely familiar. I remember hearing something about people coming from a distant land because they saw a sign that was a bright star shining in the east. I don't know. And now we have again, let us make man in our image. I mean, I just don't see how you miss the Trinity in Genesis chapter 1. Starting right there at the beginning, and I love my Jewish friends, I just don't see how they don't get the Holy Spirit in Jesus Christ. Just right here from Moses. I saw a hand somewhere. Howard.
Up until this time, God said, let the earth bring forth, let this happen. God said, let this happen. But here, he's now talking, let us make man. Rather than doing it, he is incorporating others to work with him. Where before, he just said it, it was done.
What do you make of the in our image? So in God's likeness, he created them. Well, what do you get from image and likeness? What does that mean? The shadow of God. Okay, help explain that to me. I'm a dummy today. Today. Explain that to me.
That God created us in his own image, and that we are each day to become more like Christ. So we're just a reflection, we should be a reflection of God.
I like that. What else do we get with that?
Here, God said, let us, and we know that's the Trinity. So he made us like him, a Trinity, body, soul, and spirit.
Interesting. Body,
We
soul,
look
and
at,
spirit.
Our own body, we can break it down. A finger, 3 parts. There's a Trinity right there. An arm, shoulder to elbow, elbow to wrist, wrist to the end of the finger. A Trinity there. We are a Trinity any way you want to look at it. Head, torso, and limbs.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard that before. I was just going to let him keep going.
I knows mouth.
Bedazzle me. Yeah, Carol.
If we're created in the Trinity's image, then we have the self-worth, self-preservation, self-love, all of these qualities because we're made in God's image. So no man can say, I am without God. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I mean, I absolutely love what you said. I mean, think about this for a minute. Our day and our age, so many people struggle with depression. So many young people, especially, struggle with bullying, however you define that nowadays. And it's all about what they feel about themselves, how they see themselves. Think about it. They were created in the image and likeness of God. Not mom and dad's likeness, because, I'm fallible. I have problems. I'm messed up. I'm not about to say my wife is. Just every so often I'm smart enough to avoid those big pitfalls. So, I mean, where can my sons look and say, I'm okay? Because they were created in the image of God, the likeness of God. They have some of God's characteristics. They can be creative. They can be rational. They can be logical. They can be loving. They can be nurturing. Man, if that's not inspiring and encouraging, if that doesn't give you self-worth, I don't know what could. Really?
On the same token, God, others are made in likeness of God, so how can we harm another individual?
How can we possibly look at someone and say, I'm better than you? Because you are created in the image of God. It is so simple. And yet we miss it so often. Yeah, Billy. Mm-hmm.
But in verse 28, there's a word here that I looked at for years, and when it's talking God blessed them, male and female, and God said unto them, be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth. Have you ever noticed that word?
I have noticed it. I would see it going that way. I think Billy's getting caught up in replenish seems to imply there was one time plenished. Is that a word?
That's what replenish is to replace.
To do it again, fill it again, multiply it again. And I won't say this often, but I am going to... I'm not even going to quote. I am going to say that might be a little bit above my pay grade. That is one of those questions that feel free to ask God when you come into His kingdom, whenever that is. I have my list, but that needs to be number one on yours, Billy. Yes, sir. our human language has changed a little, and we have given replenish a slightly different meaning than it originally had in 1600. Because, lots of words happen that way. Wow, I say that, and I think I just saw like 4 hands go up, which makes me think I really stepped in something.
God knows what he said.
God knows what he said,
God knew what we was going to do 2,000 years later.
and it works for me.
God is telling us to replenish the earth. We're using stuff, and replenish doesn't mean that it had been right that minute.
Perhaps it has to do also with the subduing and the dominion over all that other stuff. Meaning, if you eat up all your beans this week, I expect you to grow some next week.
That's replenishing.
Perhaps. Thank you.
That's what you do ahead of time.
John.
Well, it kind of goes back to what I said last week. If this came over from Aramaic to Hebrew to Greek to the scholars of King James, because they all had to decipher what was being said, a lot can get lost in the translations rather. And sometimes, you don't know. I agree with you. It's a list that needs to be before God. We take this book by value in faith, even though there's a lot of different translations that's in this room. But I don't think that we should get hung up on the words completely. It impedes us or imperils us from getting the overall idea of where God is going.
That's one thing that I think is crucial. We know what God intends for us to do. He intends for us to be fruitful and multiply. He intended for the animals to be fruitful and multiply. He intended for the vegetation to continue to grow. And then he kind of left us in charge. So we should make sure that we allow cross-pollination, that we are taking what we need in order for the earth to replenish everything that it needs. Devon, I'd seen your hand.
Going off from that a little bit of just the fact that he's speaking to future generations. You just kind of said what I was thinking. I mean, it wasn't just, okay, Adam and Eve, you do this. It was like, they're kind of the starting of it, but he's speaking to man and women to come afterwards to replenish and to continue taking care, like you said. I want to go back over what you said.
And part of the dominion idea means that it gave men the ability to think.
At least some of us. No.
Well,
Bad pastor, bad pastor, bad pastor.
he intended for all of us to do it, but we
Yes.
don't always do the right thing.
Yes. And that's part of who he is. So not only is that dominion, but we'd have to be somewhat like him to be able to carry that out. Gene. Oh no, Barbara, I'm sorry. I knew it was over here somewhere.
All I was going to say is, we all came from 2 people, Adam and Eve. And at this point in history, 2015, there are millions of us on the earth, and there's still plenty of food in most places. God knew that this earth would sustain us all, and that if we replenished the earth, that it would recycle itself. It would always be going. Even though back then, when you told 2 people to do it, it sounded almost impossible to them.
Yes, yes. One other point, and I'll let you leave on this point. I firmly believe that verse 27 here is the reason we get the commandment, thou shalt not make any graven image. Here's why. What do our graven images look like?
Not us.
Well, but honest, give me more than that. What is a graven image?
It's an island that man makes. It's an island.
How about as specific as you can give me?
A statue with 8 arms.
A statue. What can a statue do?
You gotta look at it.
You can look at it. What's another graven image? We had a statue.
Buddha.
How about paintings? What do paintings do?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. God has already given his image to the world. And it sings and it dances and it thinks and it loves and it cares and it moves and it talks and it hears. We're the image. All of this spectacularness is the image of God, not this. God told us not to do it because it would be a cheap facsimile. It wouldn't live up to his glory and his greatness. It's already here in you, and you, and you. And 44 times you. Anything we do would take away from the awe and the glory and the holiness. You're the only image needed because he created them in his likeness. You're it. He doesn't need any bad help. Questions, concerns, comments? Howard.
It's amazing that God made us in his image. And when Christ came, he came in the form of man from God back into that image that he had created to start with.
It's almost like a full circle. Others? Yes.
This is the only place that God said it was very good.
It was very good.
The rest of the time it was just good.
It was good. It's very good.
So he was pleased with what he did.
And there's nothing quite like a pleased God. Thought I saw another hand. Going once. Twice. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Yes, Nancy.
I don't know if anybody has heard besides me, but there is going to be a Holy Bible museum at the Smithsonian. It's going to be finished in 1700. And they already have some pages from Nehemiah and some of the other old pieces of the Bible.
Did I hear someone else almost simultaneous with Nancy? If not, have a great evening. I apologize for 8 minutes over. But have a great evening, and I think you can deal with it.